Hey there, Libra. Welcome to your reading for June of 2025. You have this Wave of Emotions card. It says, a new experience will enter your life that will stir a wave of emotions within you. You have this ultimate fulfillment. It says, you are now entering into a time of peace, happiness, and emotional fulfillment. Libra's favorite word is peace, so definitely could be a time of peace, and which would be great for Libra. June really is a good month, much better than the first half of the year. And, I said this in the 2025 readings that, the second half would probably be better than the first. And I definitely think that's true. We have this new moon actually on the day that this video is published on the 26th. We'll have the new moon, and the new moon is pretty positive, and it's also, the first new moon we're having after all the retrogrades we've had, except for Pluto is retrograde right now, but that doesn't really matter. And, we usually clear all the energies of all the retrogrades once we have these new moons. So a lot of you really could be feeling refreshed. You could just be feeling more at peace right now, literally, whenever you're watching this video. You have the Ten of Pentacles, Five of Wands, and the Hierophant. This is all coming up in the area of the good stuff. This is like pretty good. Ten of Pentacles, Five of Wands, Hierophant is some sort of like knowledge gap, I would say. Ten of Pentacles is everything you want and desire in your life. So the Ten of Pentacles can say that, and sorry, I have something on here. So let me turn that off. But anyway, the Ten of Pentacles can say that you can see everything you want and desire in your life. I always say Ten of Pentacles is very good, but it's kind of just your vision. It's something we have to build, and it's something we build forever. And so I feel for a lot of you, it's like you probably understand what a perfect life would look like, or what a good life would look like, or whatever you want to call it. But the Five of Wands could be some sort of conflict or competition, or just a gap that you're trying to overcome to get this. It's like the way that I read is I just read in order, with the cards. And so with the Five of Wands here, it's like you have the vision with the Ten of Pentacles of what ultimate fulfillment looks like. And like I said, the Five of Wands is the gap, or maybe something that you have to face. There are a million things going on that I think perfectly explain this energy. Number one, we already had Pluto go from Aquarius back to Capricorn, or, from Capricorn to Aquarius. And so I think that's a big one. That's pretty much what everyone is experiencing, is that we all probably have things that we know would make our lives better, but there could be like some sort of fear, worry, competition. There could be a need for us to like expose some sort of truth or something like that, to be able to get what we want in life. And so there's like a little bit of a challenge in us getting our ultimate vision for our life with the Ten of Pentacles. And that's kind of what I feel here with the Five of Wands is this. I mean, literally, I feel this could be anything in your life. I don't even think it has to be competition. It could just be a gap, like I said, where you have to overcome something. Or with the Hierophant, maybe you have to learn something. The Hierophant is the educator, and he is, the teacher. He is teaching these two people in front of him something, his belief system. He's trying to initiate them into something. I feel for a lot of you, he has these three stages to his crown, which represent initiation, apprenticeship, and mastery. I think, again, this is not accurate tarot, but sometimes I think people get stuck in that middle stage of apprenticeship. Like the difference between an apprentice and a master really isn't that much. Both, the apprentice and the master, they know how to do whatever the hell they're doing, right? They both know what they're doing. But the master has years of experience, right? And the master knows little things, little tricks, that maybe the apprentice does not know. So I think but it's hard to tell when you have mastered something, even if you're good at it. And so I feel for a lot of you, this is talking about experience. That's like the word that's popping into my head. If you've been learning about something for a long time, maybe now it's time to like put it out into the world and see if you can actually do it. So, I get like this feeling of action on the Hierophant. I don't normally consider the Hierophant to be a card of action necessarily. I guess in some ways, you could say he's a card of action. He communicates with heaven and earth, and he's able to bring the messages from heaven down to earth. I guess that would be an action, and maybe that's what you're doing. I mean, literally at the top of your reading, you have the vision. That could be your communication. Maybe we should be going this way instead of this way in your reading here, Libra. But you definitely could be kind of like, bringing something into the world or creating something. With the Ten of Pentacles, you have the Six of Wands. Yeah, I feel this is saying you can be victorious. You can have the accomplishment or the achievement. This is a card of accomplishment, achievement, rewards, recognition with the Ten of Pentacles. It's saying it's basically saying this is ultimate fulfillment is possible for you. I'm not saying it's going to be like super easy or anything like that, but I would definitely go for it with the Six of Wands. It's an amazing time for attention. I mean, it is a good summer. I think this summer is great for standing out. Really, that is part of Pluto and Aquarius. I think the risk we all have to take during Pluto and Aquarius is the risk of, speaking up and being wrong, for example, or the risk of saying something and being wrong, like in work or business or somewhere else in your life. So I think it's a great time to speak up. With the Five of Wands, you have the King of Wands. You could be attracting a fire sign. You've had a fire sign with me for a long time. So if you're looking for love, could be a fire sign. You have fire and water, actually. So, it could be any sign, general reading. But I also feel this card is saying it's time for you to be bold and assertive. Saturn is in your opposite sign right now. So, Saturn is in Aries, and it might be a good time for you to embrace that energy of, being bold, being assertive, starting things, initiating things, anything that you want. You're probably going to have to be the one to get started. So, I think it would be a great time to start things. With the Hierophant, you have the Hangman. We go from the Hangman up to the Hangman here. The Hangman is about enlightenment. Now, the Hierophant could be trying to enlighten these two people that are in front of him. The Ace of Wands is also kind of similar because the Ace of Wands is inspiration or, receiving some sort of inspiration. And his head is glowing because he has gained enlightenment, the Hierophant, or the Hangman. He's been stuck in Hangman mode for a while, but now he has answers, and it's time for him to move forward. So I think it's time for you to move. Next, in the area of what's coming in for you, you have the Serpent. It says a sly, subtle approach is necessary. This deck right here, a bunch of these decks, they all have a card that basically says this right here. And a lot of people have been getting this. So I think it would be a good time to keep things to yourself, right? You have this Strength and Wisdom card as well. It's like literally saying that you know what to do. I said knowledge gap on that Five of Wands at the beginning. It doesn't really feel it doesn't feel like conflict to me, Libra, that's preventing you from getting the Ten of Pentacles. It feels like a knowledge gap. So, I feel like this is saying you know more than enough. Or you know more than you think, and you have to get moving. You have the Four of Wands, the Ace of Wands, and the Five of Cups. Four of Wands could be marriage, and we do have a little bit of love showing up here in this reading. But the Four of Wands can also just be your commitment. It can say that you are committing to something, and you're making the commitment to make something happen in your life. And I feel that would be great, of course, with this card. So if you're committing to a project, an idea, this could be very good. The Four of Wands is also a card of freedom. You start with that card that said something about peace, stir a wave of emotions. Where was that? Oh, the Ultimate Fulfillment card. It said peace, happiness, and emotional fulfillment. So the Four of Wands can just be nice feelings. Four of Wands, yeah, it's a card of marriage, but it can really be a card of setting yourself free and being able to celebrate. So I feel a lot of you are kind of getting to that point where you want to celebrate. You have the Ace of Wands. Yeah, the next 3 years or so with Saturn in Aries, I think being your opposite sign will be a really good time for starting things, initiating things, putting work into things that you're trying to create, or anything you're trying to build or manifest. Being the initiator is going to be very important for Libra. Being the one who gets started. The Ace of Wands is also out with the old and with the new. We also have the Judgment card here. So a lot of you could be releasing parts of your old life so that you can step into your new life. And of course, that would be great with the Ace of Wands. I also get a very creative energy here. You have the Ace of Wands. You end with the Devil, and the Devil is coming up in the good stuff, but the two people on the Devil, they have these animal horns on their heads, and the animal horns in the tarot on the Devil, they represent our baser instincts, like root chakra energy. Sometimes I think the Devil is trapped creative energy that needs to come up to your head and be presented into the world. So if you're thinking of doing anything creative, any projects or anything like that, I would get started because Ace of Wands is a very good card. It's a card of a lot of growth and making progress, so I would get started. You have the Five of Cups. I mean, I think a lot of people are feeling like this right now, like too many disappointments, having experienced too many disappointments. And, this could be preventing you from getting started if like you want to get started on something. But if you're thinking to yourself, this is just going to be a disappointment, then you're not going to get started. And so I feel that we kind of have to, kind of get over those past disappointments. We have to get over those things that did disappoint us in the past. And if you do that, then, things will be a lot better. With the Four of Wands, you have the High Priestess here. You have the Hierophant and the High Priestess, which those are divine counterparts. So you definitely could be attracting a divine counterpart. I look at these two as better than the Empress and the Emperor. This can represent like a divine connection or something that's more spiritually guided. So if you're looking for love, that looks great. It is also a good time to trust your intuition. With the Ace of Wands, you have the Nine of Wands. Yes, he is only holding on to one wand on the Ace of Wands. So, this could be you trying something again. Almost, I wouldn't really say this reading is a second chance, but, it's almost like a second chance. You could be doing something that you've tried before. Like maybe there's a certain job that you wanted and you haven't been able to get it, but you're not giving up. And so this could be your last try in a good way, meaning that this time you're going to get whatever it is that you're trying for. So the Nine of Wands definitely says don't give up. We're in an amazing time for experimentation. And the Nine of Wands is my card of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. So I think it would be an amazing time for you to experiment, try new things. But I definitely feel you are, Five of Wands, Nine of Wands right here is kind of like the wounded warrior for sure. You've been through your battles, but the Hierophant, the Hangman, all this says that you have learned through the battles that you've been through, and now you can use that for success. With the Five of Cups, you have the Three of Pentacles. Definitely something creative here. He has created these Three Pentacles at the top, and he is showing his work to these two people. So the Three of Pentacles can be a card of quality work. It can be a card that says you're getting recognition for the work that you're doing. And I think that there could be a lot of opportunities for you to show off. Even the Six of Wands is a card of kind of like showing off, in some ways. He's getting recognition for the work that he's done. He's been to war, now he's coming back from war and he's being celebrated. So a lot of you could be getting recognition for work that you're doing. As always, Libra, I feel like I've been saying this to you for weeks. I feel like you need to make sure that you're in the driver's seat. He is the one that is taking the lead on the project. These people are coming in a support position. And like I said, I'm pretty sure I've been saying this to you for like weeks, that you need to make sure that you are the one in charge. If you're doing anything important or anything big, I would make sure that you're the one that's getting the credit, right? Next, in the area of messages from your future self, you have this card that says life is speeding up. You have this dragonfly spirit that says truth transcends illusion. We're in a time of truth. We had that full moon in Scorpio in the middle of May, and that full moon in Scorpio is all about the truth. It's all about your truth, really. It's about the truths that you maybe don't want to admit to yourself, and maybe some of them you do. It kind of goes both ways. But I feel that a lot of you could be getting closer to your truth. We're in a time of truth. I mean, we see a lot of truths being revealed in the world, and that will continue. Also, 222 here at the top of these two cards. They're both 2 and 22. So 222 could be a very important number for you, Libra. Life is definitely speeding up. You have the Knight of Swords, which is very quick movement. And so I would make sure that you are also try to slow things down, even if they're moving fast. You have the Hangman, the Knight of Swords, and the King of Wands. Like, you're off to the races, right? We go from the Hangman to the Knight of Swords, two completely opposite energies. The Hangman is not moving. He is sacrifice movement. The Knight of Swords is almost moving too quickly. So, total opposites here. And a lot of you could notice that this month of June, where maybe things have been very slow and all of a sudden things are kind of like taking off for you. And we will talk about this in a minute, but I do feel there is a need to kind of like try to slow things down with the Knight of Swords. Knight of Swords is not a good card for rushing, and Knight of Swords, he can be being too hasty. So even though things are moving quicker, and there might not be much that you can do about it, I would make sure to, in the moments where you can take a breath and take your time, I would do it, is kind of what this is saying. So I would pay attention to that. Again, you have the Knight of Swords. He is forcing this horse to run, This horse is meant to look stressed out because he's forcing it to run in a direction. And, I kind of feel like that is the key for you here, Libra. It's like, yeah, things are probably moving very quickly, but the things that you shouldn't be doing are probably things that you have to force to work. So I would be very careful of those things that you're forcing to work. If things have a nice flow to them, even if they are moving quickly, even if it is hard to keep up, if there's this nice general flow, then keep going. But again, if you're like forcing things to happen, then I would be very careful with that energy for sure. Including in love, you have the King of Cups here. If someone wants to move faster than you, maybe you just need to say no, right? That's it. Just the no word might work. But you do have the King of Cups. I do like the King of Cups in love on the positive side of things. The King of Cups can be very emotionally stable. He's a person that has explored his emotions to a very deep level. And that is something, if you meet a person who's emotionally stable, obviously that would be a good thing. But, someone here might be moving faster than the other, and I would just take your time and not rush it. The other thing I feel with the King of Cups, I feel it's going to be a hot summer. Like worldwide, I think there's going to be a lot of craziness. There already has been. And so I think on an emotional level, the King of Cups has this whale right here. Some people say it's a fish. I like to say that it's a whale because it had this fish, whale, whatever you want to call it, it has to come up for air. It's like we can't drown in our emotions. And I do feel like the King of Cups in your reading is saying, like, make sure that you're not drowning in your emotions. Make sure you're coming up for air and make sure you're processing things faster. With the Hangman, you show up as you, Libra. So whenever you show up as yourself, it puts you in a position of power and strength. This could be a good position for you to be in, is the Hangman energy, because Hangman, he's looking at both sides. He's already looked at things like whatever's being, I know I'm speaking very generally here, but it's like if you're getting an opportunity or if someone is approaching you this month or whatever it is, he looks at things this way, upright, and then he puts himself in Hangman mode. He puts himself on pause to look at it upside down as well. He's looking at it from both sides. Judgment, or justice, same exact thing. Justice is your card. Justice is more about looking at the evidence. Justice says, if a person says something, do they do it, right? Or if there's an opportunity in front of you that you are wanting to accept, is there evidence that it's actually going to work, right? And so I feel this is saying don't rush into anything this month. It looks like a very good month. It looks like things are going to move quickly, but I kind of feel like the speed or things happening fast for you is going to happen by paying attention to what works, like really making sure that you're trusting the evidence, that you've looked at both sides of something, and then you make your decision with these cards. With the Knight of Swords, you have the Page of Pentacles. Page of Pentacles can be like good news. It can be a message. We normally consider knights to be messengers in the tarot, but the Page of Pentacles, I think, can also be a messenger of good news. So this could be like an offer, or it could be someone who's just delivering good news about something. Like I said, I would still take your time on something, but this does look good with the Page of Pentacles. If you want love, could be also a person, like a new person, who is communicating with you or wanting to communicate. With the King of Cups, you have the Eight of Swords. Yes, like I said, she's making a much bigger deal out of things than they need to be. So she is standing surrounded by these 8 swords. She's in self-imposed restriction, but she's in this water right here, and it's a very shallow pool of water. The 8 of Swords, it represents shallow emotions. It's not calling you shallow. I'm not calling you shallow here, Libra, but what it's saying is that there might be emotional moments this month where it's saying, like, don't make a bigger deal out of these things than they need to be so that you don't get stuck, right? And also, I would like process things and move on. And that's what I would do with that Eight of Swords energy. Next, in the area of the good stuff, you have this focus card and this past card. I feel a lot of people are clearing out the past this month, especially at the beginning of the month with the new moon on the 26th of May. Even if you're watching this like 5 days after, it doesn't matter. You could still be dealing with that energy. So a lot of us could be releasing the past. A lot of people have also had cards of focus this month, which I think happened last month as well for the May monthly reading. So clearly it's a time for us to focus on what we want. And, that's what I'd be focusing on. You have the Devil, the Eight of Cups, and the Judgment card. The Devil can normally represent toxic energy, but it's coming up in the good stuff. So a lot of you could be clearing toxic things out of your life. Again, part of the new moon that we had in the middle of May was all about kind of admitting things to yourself that are toxic, right? So, it was in Scorpio, and that basically we could have admitted things to ourselves. We could, even though we are past that full moon in Scorpio that we had, I think people still could be, working through like things that they know they have to release or let go of. So you could be letting go of something toxic. Again, it's coming up in the good stuff. So, this is going to be a good thing. You have the Eight of Cups, walking away from things that no longer serve you. The Ten of Pentacles, the thing to think about is that the Ten of Pentacles is your ultimate dream life. You have that ultimate fulfillment card. So if something doesn't fit that picture, the Eight of Cups says you need to remove it from your life so that you can be in fulfillment. You have to be in the energy of what you want so that you can have it. And like I said, the Eight of Cups is coming up in the good stuff, so this is going to be a good thing. But I do think you could be removing yourself from, toxic influences, toxic situations, toxic people, friends, things, all that other good stuff. And obviously, it will be a good thing for you with this energy. You have the Judgment card. Judgment can be like a wake-up call. So a lot of you could be receiving some sort of wake-up call, or, I kind of feel like you're just being called to purpose. The Judgment card is your purpose, and a lot of you could be understanding like what your purpose is more on a deeper level. In some ways, it is a very spiritual year this year, and it's a 9 year. 9 is a spiritual number. Even like the Buddhists considered 9 to be the last number. They consider 10 to be 1, and so I think in a lot of ways it is a spiritual year where we could be working towards new beginnings, right? It's also the year of the snake, same thing, right? Shedding your skin. And the Judgment card is also shedding your skin. All those things are popping into my head, Libra. This has happened to no one else. So, it seems to me like a lot of you could, really could be stepping into a new life or could be changing your life on a deeper level. With the Devil, you have the Sun, which is great. If you have a problem and you don't know what the problem is, you can't fix it. The Sun can shine a light or can draw your attention to whatever the problem is in your life. So a lot of you could be becoming enlightened here to what is stealing your energy, or to, if there are things that are preventing you from making progress or moving forward, you could finally be understanding what those things are, or you could be seeing it with the Sun, which is great because that will allow you to avoid it. And it will also allow you to, walk away from it as well. With the Eight of Cups, you have the Five of Wands again. So we have the Five of Wands here in the same row. And the Five of Wands could be you walking away from things that no longer serve you with that Eight of Cups. There could be, a person, a place, or a thing that is causing conflict in your life. And by removing that from your life, it's like you're making your life easier. With the Judgment card, you have the Queen of Swords. Now, you have this card that says focus on it. And the Queen of Swords, she only has clouds halfway up her body. So she is seeing the future more clearly, or she's almost like seeing into the future. She's kind of like cautiously optimistic as well. She has her hand up, but she also has her sword up as well. So she's willing to accept something new into her life. But if it isn't right, she's going to cut its head right off. So I feel a lot of you could be kind of like in that energy with the Queen of Swords, where it's like you're much more, you're like much more aware, or you are much more focused on like what you want. And obviously that's a good thing. You have this Death card. It says pay attention to your work. It is a busy month, I would say. I even said this in the 2025 readings that I thought that June would be very, very busy for people. The summer really would be very busy. So a lot of you could just be, putting the work in to whatever you're working on projects, ideas, businesses, all that other good stuff. And that would be great. You have this Older Man card. It says dealings or relationships with an older man. You have this table. It says hard work ahead. So again, basically the same thing. The Older Man card, I don't feel like this is a person. I kind of feel this is your knowledge. Like I said, I was getting that message about going from like apprentice to master. And so, that could be a big theme for you here, Libra, this month, is that you could be mastering your craft or, mastering a skill that could bring you the Ten of Pentacles. So, that looks amazing. You have this wreath card. It says sorrow over a loss. Eight of Cups, Five of Wands. You might have to admit the truth to yourself that you're walking away from something that you might not necessarily want to walk away from. The thing is that I don't really see any cards that say that, like the Four of Cups, for example. You do have the Five of Cups, which is similar, but I don't really see it, but I kind of feel it. You have this flag card that says, do not be tempted to lower your standards. Yes, definitely. I think that, part of walking away from things that no longer serve us is we are raising our standards naturally by saying, I deserve better. And maybe that's what you need to say to yourself, is that you deserve more out of life, or you deserve better things. And sometimes I think all we have to do is claim it, and then we get it. You have this younger woman. It says dealings or relationships, a younger woman. You have this frying pan. It says trouble, accusations. Yeah, I would be careful of any younger people or anyone like this, the devil. Like I said, I'm not too worried about it because you have the sun and the devil. So if there is a person causing problems, you're probably going to see it and you're going to be able to avoid it. But pretty straightforward here, Libra, in your reading. So thank you for being here and definitely enjoy your week.